Hello, my friends, and welcome back to English Plus Podcast. Well, we've spent a lot of time over the years. You've been listening to the things I had to say, to my voice, how it sounds, its cadence, but we've never actually really talked about the person behind the voice. Well, today's episode is different from anything I've ever done. I've always focused on the content, on the English, and obviously the plus part of English Plus. And I've never been one to share much about my personal life on the show. Well, that wasn't a secret. It just wasn't what the podcast was about, and I've always been a fairly private person in that regard. And I'm not going to change that today. I'm not going to make English Plus about me, but I'm about to make some big changes to the show and to my life. And to really explain why I'm making these changes, I feel it's the right time to share more of my story with you, to properly introduce myself and the context of my journey, because it explains everything. Well, my friends, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Danny Ballan, and I'm an educator, a writer, and a musician. And I'm recording this as I have recorded every single episode. Now we're at 1,325 episodes. All of these from my home in Lebanon. Now let me tell you in brief about the origin. Why English? Now my story, the entire reason English Plus exists, starts with me as a teenager. When I was 14 years old, my formal education stopped. I was forced to leave school, and I'm not going to bore you with the details. Maybe we will talk about it some other time. But the important thing is that it felt like the end of my life at that time. A sudden, brutal roadblock that shut down every future I had imagined. I was lost. But at 15, I found my way back in. And my path was English. Learning English wasn't a hobby for me. It was a lifeline. It was my self-taught bridge back to the world. My way to prove that I was still in the game. It was an act of defiance. And it worked. 5 years later, after fighting my way back, I got back into school and eventually earned my BA in English literature. English has always been my great enabler. It gave me a voice when I was told to be silent. But English was just the beginning. There was always a plus in my life, even way before English Plus itself. I was never an ordinary English teacher. From the very start, I was obsessed with technology. I was the teacher integrating new tools, building digital content, and pushing my students and my colleagues to see what was possible. That obsession led me to my professional career. I specialized in educational technology, and I worked in that field for many years. I loved it. It was the perfect blend of my two passions. Now, a few years ago, I took the biggest leap of my life. I quit my corporate job to build this, English Plus. The podcast, the website, the courses, the consultancy, all of it. It was my dream to merge everything I am. The teacher, the technologist, the creator, all into one project. And things were great. Well, until they weren't. Operating a global brand from Lebanon is tricky to say the least. Well, actually, that's the polite word for it. In the last few years, one disaster's hit after the other. Economic collapse, explosions, instability, and I, like everyone else here, was caught in the middle. But now thinking about all this, instead of cursing my luck, I've decided to stop fighting against the current and instead to redirect it. I've decided to do something that keeps all the loves of my life alive, but in a way that is sustainable for me. So today I'm announcing two major changes. First, let me start with the professional. I am officially returning to my core professional field, educational technology. The world is changing. We can't deny that. With AI and new technologies in education, this is the future. And it's a future I've been a part of for a long time. So I'm going back to school myself, catching up on the tech I've missed while I was building English Plus full-time for the past few years, and I will be building new educational technology solutions. Well, that will be my professional focus, and I have a good 1 or 2 years of learning ahead of me, so I'll keep you posted on that journey, of course. But that's just the first part. That's the first major change, which is the professional one. Now, second, the passion. Because that begs the question, what about English Plus? Well, this is the best part. English Plus is becoming my true consolidated passion project. Well, this podcast feed is now the home for everything I create. My writing, my music, my thoughts on language, on culture, on life, all of it. No more stretching myself thin. No more worrying about what fits which platform. If I'm a nerd about it, if I'm passionate about it, it's going here. We will still have English, of course, but we are going to lean heavily into the plus. Because, my friends, no matter what I do, whether my job title is EdTech specialist or podcaster, what have you, I will always be a writer before anything else. I have known that since I was a child, and nothing has ever changed that belief. Whether I write poetry, novels, or plays in Arabic or in English, that is the window into my soul. It is who I am. And you will be getting much more of that right here. Who knows? One day I may get to be a full-time writer. Or I may not. But I will never stop writing. And I know that I enjoy the other things. But I know my core. And I believe that this new structuring of English Plus allows me to honor it. Now, many of you have supported me along this journey, and I'm nothing but grateful for your support. And what I'm going to say to all these people that I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere. The journey hasn't ended. It has evolved. And I hope now that you have the full context, you'll go on supporting me in this new stage as well. Now, part of sharing my story means being transparent about support. This is the other reason it's important to share my context. The reality of living in Lebanon has a direct impact on my ability to operate as a creator. Now, because I live in Lebanon, I have no access to PayPal, no access to Stripe. The entire global financial system for creators is, for the most part, completely cut off from me. But let me be clear, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm committing to keeping all my passion project content, this podcast, my writing, my music, completely free. Because, to be honest, yeah, of course I love money, but I'm creating things to share them with people. That's the first and foremost goal. And nothing will change about that. All I'm saying is that if this content brings value to your life and you want to support me, my Patreon page is literally the only possible way for me to receive it. It's the single gateway that works. But this is not a plea, my friend. I'm not that desperate yet. It's just a fact of my geography. Your support on Patreon is what will allow me to dedicate time to writing, composing, and recording, all while I rebuild my professional career. So, this is going to be the new chapter. This is me, Danny Ballan from Lebanon, an educator returning to his roots in technology, and a writer finally giving his creative work a single, unified home. This is English Plus. Thank you very much for listening to my story. Well, it feels good to finally share it. I'm so excited for what's next, and I'm so grateful to have you here. Now, for those of you who are frantically looking for my Patreon page link, you can find it in the show notes. And my friends, I'll be back next time with a new episode. As usual, nothing has changed. I'm not sure if it will be a piece of my writing, a new musical idea, or a deep dive into an idea I'm nerdy about, or all of them put together, consolidated in one episode. But I know it will be fun and useful at the same time. As usual, I say that a lot in English Plus to take your English and knowledge to the next level. And that will be everything for this episode. I don't want it to be a long episode. It's just who I am, what English Plus is going to be in this next phase, and I'm so excited to share it with you. I'll see you again, my friends. So until then, take care. And remember, as we always say, because that's not going to change in English Plus, not now, not ever, never stop learning with English Plus Podcast. Thank you for listening. I'll see you again next time.